Welcome back to MOSAIC, guys. So today we're going to be going over how SHS is going to go green and how we're going to climb our goals and achieve them so that we can better our climate and our surrounding community.
Hello everybody and welcome to the November 30th MOSAIC. As you can probably tell, this MOSAIC is going to be slightly different because it is in collaboration with us, the Saratoga High School Green Committee. Talking a little bit about what we are a new initiative that started this year consisting of 21 students, 4 parents, and 2 staff, and our entire goal as a committee is to make Saratoga High School go green or greener than we are right now and previously. We have a bunch of little sub-teams that are working towards this goal, one of it being the Green Awareness sub-team that actually put together and planned out this MOSAIC. We're going to work with a green team, which is going to be a school club on campus. Green team and green committee are 2 different things, but green team is something that is a school club and people can join during lunch, so it's going to be more open for you guys to join. We are looking towards a waste management system and also getting new waste bins on Saratoga High School, implementing greener policies during school events, and also the installation of solar panels, water and hydration systems, and electrical facilities that are greener. So here is a list of all the Green Committee members, mostly captains, who are going to be talking and doing voiceovers for this particular MOSAIC slideshow. Let's start with introducing myself. Hi, I'm Carolyn Pian, and I am the chairperson of the SHS Green Committee. And as we go on, more people will introduce themselves and explain and enlighten you with more green practices.
Greetings, I'm Beverly. I'm the Green Awareness MOSAIC captain.
Hello, I'm Kylene Liao, and I'm the Outreach Events Project Captain.
I am Lena. I'm a junior, and I am the Water Management Captain.
Hi, I'm George A. Hu, and I am the captain of the Waste Bin Sub-Team.
I'm Avik, a junior, and the vice chairperson of the Green Committee.
Hi all, so here's the plan for today. So first we're going to be checking in on how y'all are doing, and then we're going to go talk about some climate problems throughout the world, and also how at SHS we're going to be specifically combating those. And then we'll discuss a class competition and finish it off with a mindfulness moment. So let's get started.
So, how are you treeling today? Share with your partner.
Now let's listen to a quote from Greta Thunberg from the World Economic Forum about climate inaction.
Adults keep saying, we owe it to the young people to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as if you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house was on fire, because it is.
Next, we will do a pair share. Is this message from Greta Thunberg at the World Economic Forum different from other messages you have heard? Why? Please pause the video to discuss with your peers.
So here's the challenge. Today at 12:45 during lunch, there will be a 5-question quiz on the quad steps about whether you put a certain item in the recycling, the trash, or the compost. And the first 5 people to get all 5 questions right will get a $10 Amazon gift card. Now let's take a look at the climate situation worldwide.
2 degrees is the target for limiting the global temperature increase, but if greenhouse gas emissions were halted now, temperatures would still rise by up to 1 degree Celsius. 6,000 years ago, temperatures were at this level, and America's Midwest was a desert. The world's food production centres will become barren again. In this future, mountains lose their glaciers and rivers vanish, the Indian subcontinent fighting for survival. A 1 degree temperature increase could eliminate fresh water from a third of the planet within 85 years. Warming at the poles happens faster than the global average. 40% of Arctic sea ice has disappeared in the last 30 years. While ice reflects heat, oceans absorb it. So as ice melts, the process becomes self-reinforcing. More ocean surface means more heat absorbed, which raises temperatures, making the ice less likely to reform. Mountainous regions are at greater risk of landslides as the permafrost which held them together for thousands of years melts away. Low-lying countries like the Maldives are submerged as sea levels rise, and countries already hit by hurricanes face ever greater storms. At a 2-degree rise, people begin to die in what are now considered normal summers. In 2003, with temperatures 2.3 degrees above average, 52,000 people died across Europe. Plant growth slows down, then stops. They don't absorb carbon dioxide as efficiently, instead emitting it. The extra carbon sees global warming spiral out of control. 125,000 years ago, when temperatures were 2 degrees higher, sea levels were up by 6 metres. Today, that extra water makes up our polar ice, which is melting. By the year 2100, sea levels could rise by a metre, displacing 10% of the world's population. In this 2-degree future, ecosystems across the globe collapse as species migrate and fall out of sync. A third of all life on Earth faces extinction. Scientists say we can still avoid a 2-degree rise if we limit our carbon emissions to no more than 2.9 trillion tonnes. We've already used 1.9 trillion tonnes. We have 1 trillion left to use between now and forever. At the current rate, we'll use it in just 21 years.
So, as we learned from the video, it's absolutely crucial to remain below a 2 degrees Celsius temperature increase in order to avoid the worst of the climate catastrophes. And in order to hit that target, the world has to, globally, reduce 7.6% of emissions each year. And currently, with the current climate treaties in place, the world is projected to have a 4 degrees Celsius temperature increase, which would be absolutely catastrophic. And historically, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, which is when all of these temperature increases have been measured from, there has been a 1.1 degrees Celsius increase due to industrialization. Before we move on to what you personally can do as a human being, I just want to reemphasize that without proper legislation, decisive conglomerate action, and a united global front against climate change, individual action isn't nearly enough to halt climate change. That said, it's nevertheless good to do whatever you can for the environment and influence others to do the same. First off, to preserve forests, which are crucial carbon sinks across the world, you can use less paper and, reuse, reduce, recycle. Moreover, according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, agriculture accounts for 90% of deforestation, and 40% of that is for grazing. So meatless Mondays, leaving meat out of your diet for just once a week, can make a big impact, especially as you inspire others to do the same. As for plastic, which produces 6 kilograms of CO2 per each kilogram of plastic produced, it's always good to avoid using single-use plastics, such as plastic water bottles, plastic bags, and instead swap for things like reusable water bottles and, say, the metal boba straws that Green Committee sells. And just remember, it's always good to recycle your plastic. And to reduce your direct consumption of fossil fuels, it's always great to walk or bike places that are nearby because, Saratoga is really small, and to transition to clean and renewable energy vehicles, such as electrical vehicles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And as for waste, as we'll be talking much more in depth about later in this presentation, it's really important that you just take that fraction of a second to think about what goes where. Now let's take a look at what some of our homegrown MAP seniors have to say about the issue.
Sea levels rising, deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions, farming using livestock, burning fossil fuels. We are all at fault for all of this, rising our Earth's temperature by 2 degrees Celsius. We are all at fault for this. So why aren't we doing anything? The Earth's average temperature has increased by 2 degrees over the past century, and such a small change can have enormous impacts on the environment. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have been burning fossil fuels at an alarming rate, leading to the harming of the environment in numerous ways. We talked to experts in the field about the effects of climate change.
You can see specifics given data, given science, that year after year after year, there is continual changes in climate and of devastating effects.
Like the fires that we just had. the intensity of our fires are partially because of global warming. So there's that occurring. There are things like, when are animals going to be migrating and stuff. Even like our coastal areas. Like we know that the coastlines are soon going to be, moving up, and we're worried about sea level rise and ever glaciers are melting. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening slowly. So it's one of those things that I feel that every day we're getting impacted by it, but we're not going to see a big quick change because it's just going to build up and build up and build up.
Global warming is no longer a philosophical threat, no longer a future threat, no longer a threat at all. It's our reality.
Wow, can you believe that? That was a lot of information.
But on a more positive note, let's talk about what our school is doing in order to combat and address these issues. Number one is reducing plastic bottles, so we're mainly looking towards this in the form of school policies. There's also reducing paper usage, more walking and biking, and better waste management. Something you may have noticed is that all four of these actually require the student body to also be involved, and going green is something that not only an individual or like a tiny group can do. It's something that requires the entire student body to be on board and to be conscious of the decisions they make. So your ideas are also going to be important, and your feedback is going to be very important at the end.
Our first point relates to water on campus. Everyone is encouraged to bring their own bottles to make the most of refill stations located around school and to reduce plastic bottle usage. We are currently working to add and renew more stations, as well as improve on the filters and coolness of the water in hopes to push for less plastic consumption on campus. Currently, we have 9 hydration stations located around school and 13 regular faucets, which we would like to replace with the refill stations.
2. Reducing paper usage. So our school clearly uses a lot of paper and all the handouts and tests that you see. So we'll be working with our school to use less photocopies by getting some double-sided printers for the library, and also transition more to digitally handouts, tests, and other assignments.
Here is a map of all the bike racks at Saratoga High. If you can walk or bike, please do, because it greatly reduces your carbon footprint.
The 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. Reduce is just to reduce the amount of single-use materials in your life, and reuse is to reuse everything that you can find a second use for, so bottles, tins, jars, gift bags, and anything else. And recycling is when you can't reuse it anymore, or you just can't reuse it, then you can recycle it. It won't go to the landfill. It'll be recycled and made into a new product that doesn't, so you don't waste materials. And rot is when you compost your organic materials. Okay. How long does it take for waste to decompose in a landfill? So for organic materials, it'll take around 3 to 4 weeks. For paper, it'll take around 1 month. For aluminum, it'll take around 50 years. For plastic, it'll take around 200 to 500 years. For glass, it'll take 1 to 2 million years. And for styrofoam, it'll just take forever. And why won't my compost decompose in the landfill? Well, organic waste that ends up in a landfill does rot, but the thing with a landfill is that those materials don't become compost. Instead, they produce methane, which is a terrible greenhouse gas and is toxic for the environment. How do you sort your trash? So there's recycling, throwing it away, and composting. Which one do you put your stuff in? So recycling, you would put your waxed papers, your plastics, your glass bottles, and just clean materials that aren't tainted with food. And landfills would have disposable utensils and straws, containers that are stained, chip bags, styrofoam, etc. And the reason why some plastics, like the ones used in disposable utensils and straws, why you can't recycle those, are because those are too thin to be recycled, so you can't actually recycle that. However, plastic bottles, you can. Composting, you can throw away your food scraps, so your leftover lunch that you didn't eat, you can throw that away in the composting, so then it can be reused to plant something new.
And for all of these bins, if there's just one thing placed wrong, for example, if you put a cup of coffee inside a recycle bin, then the whole bin can be contaminated and turned into trash.
Quiz time! Where does each item go? Your options are empty plastic water bottles, plastic containers with crusty leftover lunch on it, plastic utensils, and lastly, banana peels and other food. Please pause the video and make a decision on where each item goes. Here are the answers. Empty plastic water bottles would go in the recycling bin because they are empty and do not have any food residue on it. Plastic containers with crusty leftover lunch on it, however, would go in the landfill because it's not empty. Plastic utensils are disposable and therefore would go in the landfill as well. And then lastly, banana peels and other food would go in compost because that's where food and soiled napkins would go.
Pair share. Who is the worst recycler in your family, and what can you do to help them clean up their act?
So starting today during lunch, there will be a class competition where classes compete to see who can recycle and compost the best. So there will be 8 bins in the middle of the quad, 1 recycling and compost for each class, and there will be class posters attached to each telling you which bin that you should recycle or compost in. So make sure that you don't contaminate any of these bins because they will be checked every blue day, and then we'll be tossing out any bins that actually have any contaminants in them. For example, if you put plastic in a compost bin or if you put a leftover bit of burrito in a recycling bin, that bin doesn't count for the day. So we'll be weighing these bins, and then we'll be updating you on the progress via ASB announcements and also the various Green Committee, Green Team, and ASB Instagrams. Make sure you're participating in this competition not only to learn how to recycle and compost, obviously, but because the winning class gets free boba at the December 9th night rally. So make sure you're recycling and composting properly. Also, another reminder today to come out at 12:45 near the end of lunch to test out your knowledge on recycling and composting and try to get that $10 Amazon gift card. Please pause the video here so that students can scan the QR code to vote for the MOSAIC logo. And if any club or organization has a message that they want to talk about in MOSAIC, please contact the MOSAIC team, Ms. Siddiqui, Mrs. Taylor, or Mr. Safin.
So that concludes the end of our MOSAIC. There is a QR code that you see on the slide here to our Instagram page where we are very active, so feel free to follow that or give us any feedbacks in the DMs, things like that. So that's it, and Saratoga High School, let's go green!